all of my ordinances tonight with the recommendation of the State Board of Accounts. First of all, when she discussed that we were paying our employees on a weekly basis, she said, well, I would suggest that you change that to a bi-weekly payroll. By the time we're ready to discuss that, she has recommended that it be changed to a bi-weekly payroll. It therefore, when they're auditing, they're not auditing 52 weeks of 120 employees. It makes the audit more advisable for her. So the ordinance 2020-12, we would change the wording from, it would be amending ordinance 2022 and change the wording to state salary set forth in this ordinance will be compensated beginning the period date ending September the 19th, payable the first Friday in October, which that would be October 2nd, and therefore thereafter bi-weekly. Any questions?
Well, they've already done their audit,
No, it's not finished.
so they're doing it now though.
But this is for 2019 that they're doing the audit.
Okay, so what, they'll be here next year at the same time to do the audit for 2020?
Probably so.
My recommendation would be to hold off doing your bi-weekly until the first of the year.
Okay, so our financial group, at the end, when we start in January, let me just explain the things that will happen in January. Every employee will get a difference in pay if it continues down the path that we're going right now for budget time. Every W-2 is going to be due in January. Every 1099 is going to be due in January. This will be an accounting nightmare to change to a biweekly payroll at that point in time. The reason it's been recommended for October, to start this in October, it's the beginning of the fourth quarter. It also it gives my office or our payroll administrator time to get these all set up and then roll into the new year. There's no difference in taxes. We ran side-by-sides because our software does a annually calculation. It doesn't, the taxes, some of the complaints that we heard was, well, our taxes will go up when we get a higher gross. That's not happening. We did it on 3 different scenarios to see. We did it on a married claiming 1, and the taxes changed by 52 cents. We did it on married claiming 6, and I think that was a 7 cent. And then we did it on a single claiming 0, and that was a 22 cent difference on a paycheck, side by side. So what I'm doing is trying to be efficient and not put that kind of responsibility on my office for the month of January.
Maybe we should move to the second quarter of 2021 if we put that kind of the thing that I'm concerned with is we have a lot of employees that have been paid weekly for a lot of years. And I think we've all been in that situation to where we've had to make that change. And we have families that are living on budgets, paycheck to paycheck. And we give them less than 2 months to make this adjustment. I just don't feel that it's enough time for that to happen.
Okay.
And and I understand what you're saying about January. I haven't given that any thought, but if that is an issue there, maybe we push it to the second quarter of 2021.
And I get that weekly payroll also, and I understand where the employees are coming from. So I'm not against the employees. I'm simply brought to you.
I'm not suggesting that, Brenda.
Okay,
Not at
I
all.
simply brought to
Not
you
at
the
all.
recommendation from the State Board of Accounts. If we push that, let me tell you on that one. If we do push it to the second quarter, 2021, then I'm here as a financial officer and the office holder, and did not follow the recommendation of the State Board of Accounts, just so that goes on record, you know, that I would not be allowed to follow the recommendation of the State
It is
Board of
just a
Accounts.
recommendation.
Yeah,
They
it's
didn't
not
order
law.
you to do it. It's a
They didn't
recommendation.
order me to do it. That's right. That is right.
And if we've been audited every year by the State Board of Accounts, what's changed?
There was a different auditor this year.
And I've been-
Julie's sister used to be the State Board of Accounts auditor that came here, and Julie was here in 2019, and therefore she could not come, so they traded who had been auditing and accounting and brought them here. It's a different auditor. It's a different situation.
Is there,
And you know what, you can bring 20 auditors in, and each auditor's gonna have their own view on something.
Right.
I've been through.
And like I said,
I've been through GM audits.
I'm just here presenting, yes.
is there value of having it this calendar year versus it spilling into another calendar year?
Nope.
In the sense that it would be better to try to do it mid to late December
There was a number
versus.
of Friday miscalculations, right?
Okay, so here's what happened. Here is something else that is next on when you make a decision here, but let's bring that up also. For this 2020 budget was prepared by the prior administration. So, on that note, they thought that there would be 53 weeks in 2020, where actually there are only 52 Fridays, because Friday, January the 1st is a new year. And so therefore, to be able to pay the amount of money that's in the ordinance, then the budget is, there's not enough money to cover that extra payroll. We're not going to be able to pay on January 31st. That's a legal holiday. The banks aren't going to let us transfer the money for that day. I've already checked. So what happens is we're either going to need to take that January the 1st payroll and move it to January the 4th, which is a Monday, which they wouldn't be paid on that Friday, January the 1st. They would be paid their first payroll of 2021 on Monday, January the 4th, or we're going to have an additional appropriation to be able to pay that 53rd pay week on December the 31st. And when we did ask the State Board of Accounts, how do we recommend this? And they said, best thing you can do is go to a 2-week payroll, and I would strongly recommend that you do that. So,
We can use that to bridge the gap, is the goal, right? To time it so we bridge.
right, and if we start this on October the 2nd, or
Some other later date.
4 weeks
at
later or
some
something.
other later date, then it absorbs that mistake, overlook, whatever.
Sort of to Daryl's point, maybe, I think October's a little quick as well, but maybe what we could do is look to push it back towards early November, or maybe even mid-November. And then that
Okay,
way
so
it's
right
been-
now, we're talking about 8 payrolls. We have 8 more payrolls per week, okay? And if you go to November, you're gonna have 12 payrolls. That's 4 more payrolls for them to adjust. And, you know,
That would work, if that's.
I kinda like to hear from whatever department heads are here. I wanna hear what their employees
Yeah,
have to say.
what they're hearing.
What are they
Right,
saying?
I know we do have one gentleman here.
I know they've been hearing this is coming, and, you know, are they adjusting to it? I mean, I'm sure that at first they were like, wasn't sure what was. Hey, chief.
Hey, as far as my guys, like I said, I have a lot of young guys, that they still have, spouses or girlfriends that are in school, getting their education, so of course they're having a single income. That was one concern. The other one was the, short time frame and all that. So, like I said, that's the only part that I've had is just, like I said, the guys that have the spouses that are still in college working towards a degree and how it would affect them. And then, of course, like I said, the 2 months and that is, they would like it a little bit, if it was gonna happen, pushed back due to trying to get things sorted out. But that's all I've heard on my end, so about 2 or 3 guys.
Sarah has her hand up.
I have one other person that's, that I'm over, so, but the concerns of that Daryl brought up, I've had some people talk to me about. I've had my own concerns with it. I'm one of those that has a budget at home and you know, you have bills automatically taken out of your check and you've gotta readjust things and that kinda takes some time to get readjusted. You know, I know the city employees used to get paid bi-weekly years ago, back when Shel Smith was still mayor, it got changed to weekly. And you just get used to that. You adjust your bills around that and everything else. Not that you can't readjust. I just think a little bit longer of a time frame. I understand too where you're coming from as far as the January thing and all that. But I kinda like what Daryl recommended, maybe going the second quarter. You know, it is an adjustment. Some people are like, well, it'd just be like getting 2 paychecks, you know, and I get that. But it does make a difference when you do have a budget that you follow at home and paying your bills and there's readjustment there. You know, I understand and State Board of Accounts, you know, recommends or whatever, but I can't really say a whole lot there because, yeah, I mean, if I was an auditor come in, I wouldn't want to audit somebody's file of 52 checks. It'd go a lot quicker with 26. But that's just my opinion, but I think just allowing a little bit more time would probably go over better with some employees.
Here were some, Bree also, who is our financial advisors, also suggested that, and I'm just telling you that. We talked to the, Keystone today, which is our software. They suggested giving the employees a bonus, to help them that first week, just a bonus because we're changing your paycheck, here's an extra. Glad to gradually changing the pay date, maybe the first week do it on Wednesday, and the next 2 weeks do it on a Thursday, and then that's up to any of you who think that. I say no to the gradual pay change. I say no to the, my personal opinion would be no to the gradual pay change. Why get a bonus if you're getting what you're working for? But this can, like you said, it can go back. I mean, it can be backed up. I would just beg you not, please, please do not do it in January.
The thing about, you know, the way the dates are lining up and everything, we do appropriations all the time, and I think that would be a fairly simple fix.
Do the appropriation so that we could make that payment on December to the 31st, and then go into the new year with the budget at 52 weeks, because that's what it would be.
Yeah, that's what I like.
I'm thorough on that, and I would soon do it second quarter next year if we want to do it. Give the employees time to adjust.
What about your guys?
You're pointing to me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mark.
You're talking to me?
Yeah.
She's smiling.
I can be honest, nobody in my department's in favor of it. I have one gentleman here, and I'm sure he's willing to speak.
don't matter. I'm opposed to it, I can tell you now.
In other words, I didn't have a single person that says, it don't matter to me, I pretty much got a unanimous, no, we don't want it. And that's just it. They didn't go through a lot of reasons. A lot of them kind of felt like they got blindsided because they didn't hear about it till Tuesday or Wednesday.
Well, here was the
And
thing,
they-
we thought the department head should know it before.
You know, and I think some of it could be maybe a little better if it was explained to them in advance. I made that suggestion, and Brenda offered to do it after you approved it, but I think it would be a little more palatable if it was explained to them prior to trying to do it to them. And
Bryan?
I was asked to talk to my employees also, and I didn't have one that was in favor of it. I mean, it's part of change also, I guess, you know, anytime you wanna change something like that, you're gonna have.
And then the fire chief was in there also.
Chief?
Yeah, so I initially I hadn't heard anything, and as soon as I found out, I let my assistant chiefs know to tell my guys, because in favor of transparency and kind of a new leadership, it's not really fair to keep things, especially something like this, from them. Today I finally did get some feedback back, and their biggest concern is honestly the lack of information, and then they're worried about their taxes. They're worried about how much is this going to shrink their paycheck, is because of getting will it bump them into a higher tax bracket potentially? What are those type of long-term ramifications of making this change versus what type of salary increases are coming with the budget and things like that? Obviously, they want as much money as possible, and I understand that. But you know, without really having much to knowing what's going on, we were given the email as well to anticipate this. We were really inadequately prepared, as Mark said, to answer some questions. And I don't think they're upset with us, and they're not really upset with anybody, just wanting the reason of why behind it. So I don't necessarily think I have a whole bunch of people that are adamantly opposed to it, as long as there is a chance for them to speak and get their information and make sure that it's not going to affect them. As creatures of habit, of course, they are a little just unnerved by, you know, that large of a change.
I would like to address a couple points that the fire chief made. As far as transparency, there have been discussions about, we will not upset the employees. If you just flat out said, no, this isn't going to happen, then there was no moving forward with it. The reason that the department heads were told without each individual employee being addressed is because we didn't want the department heads to come in tonight and be blindsided by the request. And as you can see, other than department heads, there's only one other employee here to voice their opinion. So, my office will work this out whichever way it works. I would like for you to realize how much time that Julie spends on payroll. She works, 1 week gets payroll done, she starts on Monday, she starts on the next payroll, she works on the next payroll, and she works, when we say payroll processor, that's Julie's responsibility, because there's not a lot that gets done besides processing payroll. 1 week's done, you start the next week. And for my office, yes, I could certainly utilize her in other areas of my office besides simply preparing payrolls.
And you did offer in the email to department heads to meet with them. and
I told them I would meet with them all 3 shifts. I told the department heads that I would meet with their employees on all 3 shifts and answer, to the best of my knowledge, any questions that they might have. And that's the reason we ran the side-by-sides, to see if there would be a change in the taxes and that type of thing, and there's not. It's adjusting to getting a paycheck every 2 weeks.
So I guess maybe what I'm hearing is, why don't we table these ordinances, because we don't need to adjust 2020 ordinances if we're not gonna implement until 2021. And then when we write the ordinances for 2021, then we can add that in there And then if we start either April 1 or, I know we don't want to start January 1, so, but then that also gives us time to communicate with the employees, talk to them, give them time to prepare, get adjusted. I know it's not quite as quickly as you'd like to happen, but then it, short term, in the long run, we can get there, plus we give everybody a chance to kind of get ready for it and prepare for it, and answer any questions or uncertainties along the way. I guess my motion is to table the ordinance the way it is.
Chris, is that good enough for we to vote on?
No, I think you can, I mean, I think you can table it if you so choose.
Okay, so Jamie's made a motion to table 2020-12 and 2020-14, which is the mirror for that, just for the utilities. Correct, Jamie?
Yes.
Any
I'll
further?
second the motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, we'll address this in 2021. Discussion on dormant funds.
Okay, so I wanted to discuss with you on the dormant funds. The State Board of Accounts noted that the account has been dormant since before 2005. They recommended moving those funds of a dormant account to our general operating funds and possibly using the this was just a throw in at the end, possibly using those funds as a long-term investment. The balance in the account that's been dormant since before 2005 is $46,201.17 in First Financial Bank. And First Financial began charging us a service fee because the length of the dormancy, and it had been noted that in March of 2019, the notification was sent out that the account should not remain dormant that long, that there should be activity in it or it should be assumed by another account. And that was a year ago, and so in March they started charging us $5, a service fee of $5. So I pulled the bank rec for the bank statements for July the 31st. The account started with $46,204.99. There was a $5 service fee, and they paid us $1.18 in interest. And so therefore the balance of that account is $46,201.17. And because it was a dormant account, they suggested that I get approval from you to move it into the general account and then use it from the general account, not take it from this account to long-term investment, just to make a lateral move with the money and then track it easier from the general account.
Any further discussion for Brenda on that? Take a motion to allow her to move that fund into the general fund.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Those opposed? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Okay, last big one for the evening. We have a discussion about ordinance 2020-13. This is simply regulating the enforcement of the city's fire prevention code. We discussed earlier this year about the fire pit ordinance, and part of that is only the fire chief can enforce that, so this broadens that out to their designees, and the building commissioner has the ability then to enforce violations of that. That is all. Any questions or concerns, comments on that? If not, we'll take a motion to pass that as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Jamie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It does allow for an issue of a fine, so we'll wait on that one. Upon reflection, I don't know if in your packet you got a list of employees from the utilities who have put in the time request the same that, okay, you did good. So that should look familiar. We talked about this last month, the COVID pre-April. Donna came to me afterwards and said, hey, we have some more employees that meet this criteria. This is an updated list. I would ask that you extend them the same reimbursement as we did for other employees.
So moved.
Second.
seconded by Jamie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Reminder, we have a special budget meeting, this Thursday, 6 p.m. We'll be across the hall. You should have, received an email from me today with a link to the Dropbox. Make sure you've got everything that you need in there. And, the Community Foundation, you all as a council have an appointment to the Lilly Scholarship Advisory Board. It helps pick who that person is. They have some parameters about how you can't be related to someone who may graduate in the next 5 years at different levels. If you all have someone in mind for that appointment, they would like to know. If you would like to appoint me, I'm happy to serve in that capacity as well, so.
I nominate Josh.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Those opposed, thank you very much.
I'd like to go first, you're mayor.
That's okay. I served on the United Fund board, their committee, so it's all good.
I read a lot of essays.
I've done it.
Just well read.
Yeah, it's fine. We'll make it. I hope. Heavy trash is August 17th through the 21st. Like usual, we'll be on regular scheduled trash days. We, of course, have talked about the numbers for that, so we'll see how it goes in August. And finally, before we hear from Jamie on the Board of Works, I want to give a shout out to Mitch Tuttle and K9 Hercules at GPD. They were part of the armed robbery request. Hercules is our newest K9 officer, also the tracking dog, so that came in well. Found one of the guys under a deck and another under a tree, so we commend GPD on all of our work for that, along with the Sheriff's Department and 911. Jamie.
Board of Works, we approved the fire chief job description. We made a conditional offer of employment for one officer, and then had a second officer for our next available position. We'll offer a conditional offer of employment when that comes. We also approved a leave of absence for an individual with the police department. Brenda came in front of us, talked about the Oker grant reimbursements. That was $197,000. We basically loaned out, we're getting that money back. Jeff Smith came, he basically approved a contract with CNH/M, change order number 3 for about $3,600. We approved that. A payout to Dave O'Mara for a little over $114,000. We approved that, so it was all about how much money you have to get from it. And then Ron came and asked for a new plotter/scanner, which he talked to us about, moving the money around so we could get that.
Okay. Anything else to come before the council? I'd take a motion to adjourn. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, see everybody on Thursday.